Thank you, Mr. President. I'm pleased to contribute to this session from my country of posting, Lao PDR, a middle-income country that is Southeast Asia's only landlocked state and one that is expected to graduate from LDC status this year. Laos has been disproportionately affected by ODA funding cuts. It is among most heavily impacted countries in Asia and the Pacific, with near 30% reduction in country-level funding to the UN system between 2024 and 2026. The most at-risk areas affected by these cuts are health, nutrition, and food security, all crucial sectors where SDG financing gap has ironically been widest. But volumes are only part of the picture. Quality is just as important. There are deeper structural changes at play, demanding changes in the UN entity business models, and necessary shift away from fragmented, narrowly defined, project-driven activities to a complementary mix of funds that supports integrated SDG solutions and long-term development outcomes. Funding cuts sent shockwaves through the system in Lao PDR. But rather than reinforcing divisions and competition, the challenge brought the UN country team together. Impetus for joined-up work has increased, and the country team is finding new ways of working together through higher quality joint programs aligned with SDG transitions. For our forthcoming cooperation framework, the new outputs are designed as strategic areas of collaboration and hubs of joint programming. This would effectively place a premium on multidisciplinary program from the get-go rather than an afterthought. We're also making headway with pooled funding model. Our first thematic pooled fund on green and climate finance helps government address policy gaps to unlock much-needed sustainable finance. Joint program on reproductive, maternal, and child health has been a service offering over the years and expanded to include subnational capacities and sustainability of investments. The Minister of Health calls it the brain of the public health system. Our newest joint program on food systems follows an SDG transition pathway to deliver financing for an integrated climate food systems action at scale, leveraging $43 million in the next 2 years. These joint initiatives will enable a meaningful start to our new cooperation framework in 2027. The role of host country governments in the funding compact is absolutely crucial. The government of Lao PDR has encouraged UN and funding partners to achieve a more effective funding mix, one that recognizes the centrality of the cooperation framework, championing national priorities, the one that blends different sources of finance for sustained impact, and one that understands the pitfalls of fragmentations and benefits of integration. Our first country dialogue on funding compact in Lao PDR was in fact co-led by the government, whose message was loud and clear. We want a better quality funding for the UN Lao PDR cooperation framework. While all of this sounds very positive, the funding compact would only deliver on its promise when funding decisions begin to recognize the UN system working together in a more integrated and impactful manner. In my country context, this remains work in progress. In fact, most of the recent funding for joined-up work came from global funding instruments, while in-country bilateral resources often remain fragmented. This is a challenge. While the country team is keen on a country-pooled fund to accompany our next cooperation framework, we must still extensively assess the feasibility of its future capitalization. Funding partners therefore have a huge role to play in making informed funding choices, discouraging competitive behaviors, and promoting collaboration. The funding compact is called a compact for a reason, because it takes two to tango. While there has been good progress on transparency of bilateral funding decisions, sector-specific projects remain a dominant programming method on the ground. As the UN country team, we understand that the funding compact commitments can and should be more than the sum of individual parts. We also recognize that no single funding modality can meet all needs. Core pooled, thematic, and earmarked funding fulfill different but complementary purposes. Vertical and multi-partner funds increasingly require convening role, coordination, and quality assurance of resident coordinators' offices. Country teams are increasingly expected to make a strong case for these global funding instruments, and experiences in Laos have shown that a more inclusive RC-led design process not only increases the chances of securing funds in alignment with national priorities, but also creates a collaborative dynamic and ultimately reduces tension within the country team. So this is not an administrative overhead. This is really a very important value addition that reform has created. Finally, core funding is crucial to ensuring essential carrying capacity of UN entities at country level. As resident coordinator, I have engaged with heads of agencies in UNCT to allocate their finite core resources to neglected priorities and to create a momentum for larger investments. With shrinking core resource base, essential capacities diminish, and so does the ability to innovate and, importantly, collaborate. In that vein, our recent annual results report for Lao PDR highlighted the role of core contributions to UN results on the ground. And beyond reporting results and funding trends, these annual reports increasingly showcase how UN country teams deliver on the funding compact commitments to transparency, efficiency, and value for money. I thank you.